I'm not exaggerating when I say that the rain changes everything for wild hog hunting. I'm going to post a couple of screenshots here over the last 24 hours showing you the difference between a week of 100-degree heat with no rain, basically keeping the hogs. Again, hogs typically, they're not like deer, they don't move at the same time every day. They typically kind of bounce. They're either early one night and late the next, is typically one of the what we typically see. And so if they're at 4 a.m. one night, chances are the next night's going to be the better night to hunt, because typically they'll be earlier. That may be 2 a.m., but it also may be 10 p.m., 9 p.m. It, again, just kind of depends on the hogs, depends on the other weather and other factors, things like that, the amount of food, and again, the hogs themselves. But typically, they will flip flop night to night. And if they are early, if you see them super early on the camera one night, 8, 9 o'clock in the afternoon, especially in the summer, it doesn't even get dark till 8:30, 9 o'clock. It doesn't cool off till later. And so typically, if you see those hogs early one night, chances are they're going to be very late the next. No, that's not always true, but that is typically a pattern I see often. And but the one thing that will really throw and change that pattern immediately is a huge weather change, especially with rain during the summer when it's cooking and we've had very little water. The canals are dry, the river's super low, creeks are very low, the water holes that they usually go and roll in have all dried up, and basically they're just hanging in deep shade and just waiting on something to change. So when that rain rolls in, it changes everything just like that. And they're like kids in a candy store, and they're just ready to come out and play almost immediately. Plus, underneath a lot of those feeders, corn has been dropped out all week. The deer have been coming and eating it, or even if the hogs show up, they eat it, but they just kind of pick off the kernels on the top of the ground. But what happens is when deer chew, they make crumbs. The crumbs fall into the dirt, get stomped on, and crushed under the dirt. And after it rains, even though there's no corn, or maybe no corn if they've eaten it all or whatever. But again, that rain soaks the ground. It has rotten, or has many fragments of corn buried in it. Then the heat comes out, heats it all up, and basically you have the smell of rotting corn coming out of the ground from under the feeders, even if there's not been buried corn or anything. And so the hogs love to come out, root that ground up, and get the corn that came out of the feeder, but then get all the chunks that have been ground into the ground because they can smell it. And it just, the sand that sucked up into their nose while they're rooting around now is wet mud, and they don't care. And it just, again, you think about a dog with his nose, he can't breathe when it's super dry, but yet when it's wet, his nose is nice and moist, and and the nasal membranes take in a lot more information. Well, it's the same with the hog. So we can smell that rotten corn under the feeder. Can smell other rotten things in the woods. Again, you've got rotten logs with grubs and worms under them. Again, all that stuff is rotting due to the moisture, and so the hogs typically love to come out. And now the ground's soft, so they, again, even if there's no corn feeder running, they'll go and root it up. If you've got like nut grass, nut sedge in the fields, they'll come and just, again, that ground was hard and not very fun to root around it. Now it's wet and they're ready to go. So I'm going to post a couple of trail camera pictures over the last 24 hours. We've got been having some hogs moving, but most of it's been really late. It's been super hot. But just like I said yesterday in my video, if it rains, go immediately. Well, sure enough, it rained. It poured down yesterday here in Garnet all day. We went to Ridgeland. Didn't seem like it had even touched over there, but it rained. And there was a lot of standing water over here in Garnet and in the surrounding communities. And sure enough, last night there were hogs out like crazy in daylight, 7, 8 o'clock. And then typically hogs move at night, and by daylight they're full and they're done eating and moving, and they're long back in bed before the heat and the sun comes up. However, in the summer when it rains, and that ground is soft, again, those hogs, kids in a candy store. And sure enough, the hogs were back out this morning, even though there wasn't as much corn left under the feeders. Again, the feeders go off in the mornings just for a bump or two, excuse me. And so the hogs ran right out to get the couple of seconds of food that went off this morning, as well as dig back up underneath those feeders, because again, there's always snacks left under there. and they can smell it. So again, when it's hot and dry and that ground's hard, they don't care. But when it's wet, kids in a candy store. Always remember that. So I'm going to post a couple of pictures off our Moultrie Trail cameras so that you can see what an impact that day of rain and overcast and cool temperatures. Again, it was 75 yesterday, overcast, raining. Probably got a couple inches of rain. Again, the prior week it's been 100 degrees, zero moisture. It's been crazy. So if you have any questions, let me know. But these are the things that I see consistently running a hog hunting outfit or business.